Welcome back to I Squared. We have a very interesting video today. We are actually going to be debating about baseball. Our two hosts today are Jakobe.
Hi.
And Tommy. And they will be answering a series of questions that we have for them. So it should be a good debate today. Gentlemen, are you ready?
Oh, yes, I am.
Yes? Tommy?
Yep.
All right, first question. Explain why Carlos Ruiz is the best catcher of all time.
Oh, gosh.
Jakobe, you may start.
Carlos Ruiz. First of all, you got the attitude, you got the defense, you got, all this, he's good, he's good at stopping the pitches from getting by him. He's, good at, throwing to second or third on a steal, good at, cutting them off, and I have a feeling I walked into a trap.
All right. Good answers. Tommy, please rebuttal.
Okay, so greatest of all time, I would have to disagree, but he is a great catcher. I mean...
Please stay on topic, Tommy. We are trying to debate why he is the greatest of all time.
He's not the greatest of all time. He's not. He's not greatest of all time, okay? Pudge Rodriguez is the greatest of all time. Straight up. No questions asked. Defensive catcher... Throw-out rate above 70%. That is unheard of. Great defensive catcher. Carlos Ruiz, he'll give you about 260. He'll probably hit you anywhere from 20, 25 home runs. He's got the arm. He can block balls. Good defensive catcher. I mean, early in his career, won the World Series with the Phillies in 2006 or 2008. I mean, very solid catcher. Did bring the Phillies to the World Series, but I think overall you can't put him in the... I mean, he's a good catcher. Not greatest of all time. Not. Straight up.
Any counter to that, Jakobe?
I do not have a counter to that.
Fair enough.
Any last minute statement?
No.
All right.
Question number 2. Explain why Babe Ruth should have played shortstop.
Tommy will start this one.
Yeah, I don't think he should have. I mean, he was a great pitcher, until he moved to the outfield. I mean, what the numbers say, what he was one of the home run kings. I mean, there's nothing else you really can say. The numbers say for himself what he was.
Yeah, and in terms of your power hitters, you don't usually see too many power hitting shortstops, with someone that you signed to play shortstop, you typically want that person.
You look at his size, too. If you look at his size, he is built as a corner infield guy, power pitcher. I mean, he's not an athletically built guy as you see now or even back then with the, even like Jackie Robinson. He's more athletic built. I mean, he's not typical shortstop.
Are you saying that athletic built men cannot be shortstops?
Yes, I am.
Why?
Because you need to have more range, you need to have speed, athletic ability,
So an athletic build does not mean that they are athletic?
No, you need an athletic build because you need to... The range is incredible for a shortstop. You need to play deep in the hole at third, straight up the middle at second. You gotta make great throws. I'm talking, impressive throws that most guys cannot make. I mean... You look at guys today like Manny Machado, Didi Gregorius, Xavier Bogaerts. All these guys, they make very impressive plays. Trevor Story, these guys could play some ball. I mean, Babe Ruth did not have the build to play an athletic shortstop.
Do you have a counter to that, Jakobe?
Well, it's like he said, you want your... shortstop to be, faster, more athletic. You don't sign a shortstop and you want the focus to be hitting. You want your shortstop to be able to make plays in the field. Typically, your power hitters are, your third baseman, your outfielders, or your catcher.
If you look at Carlos Correa, too, Carlos Correa is, probably one of the best shortstops, both at the dish and around the defensive play. The guy can make any play. Defensively, offensively, this guy is probably the cream of crop of all shortstops right now.
Jakobe, you don't look quite as thrilled with that answer.
I would say that Carlos Correa needs a bit of work on shortstop.
And why would you say that?
Well, just could be a little faster, could be a little stronger.
Tommy?
I disagree with everything that Jakobe says. This guy is 5 tools straight up. He could play potentially MVP guy. I mean, he can be MVP guy any single year. This guy can play some ball. I mean, no offense, but I'm telling you right now, this guy, Carlos Correa, one of the best guys at shortstop right now.
Well, I'm not saying that he isn't good. I'm not saying that you can't get good fielding out of him, that you can't get good throwing out of him, that you can't get good blocking out of him. But, yeah, it's, good blocking, just...
What? That's a catcher's... What? Blocking?
Blocking.
What were we blocking? Kicks?
That's what shortstop
What are you doing, guy? What are you doing? No. What he means is that Carlos Correa does have a big frame for his size at shortstop. He is a little bit big. He is a little bit taller. But that doesn't matter. The guy's got the range. He's got the arm strength. He's got the hitting. I understand where Jacoby's trying to say. He is a little bit tall for his range. But this guy, you gotta overlook that. This guy can play right now. 5 tools guy, straight up.
I'd rather see him at second base.
And I would say shortstop or third base because no, he's too tall to play second base.
Okay, we're
He's
gonna
got
do
too big of
a
a
closing arguments here. So last minute reasons on why Babe Ruth should have played shortstop.
Next question. That's invalid.
Any closing arguments?
Well, shortstop isn't really a power hitting position, outfield is. And Babe Ruth was the ultimate power hitter.
All right, on to the next question.
Moving on.
Ruth.
We're done with Babe Ruth. Focus.
He's not the shortstop.
Okay, go ahead and ask the question.
All right. Thomas!
Shut up. His point is invalid.
Excuse you. This one you'll enjoy. If Derek Jeter was a coffee, which type of coffee would he be?
Jacoby gets the first one on this.
He'd be a classic dark roast.
Fair enough.
And why?
Because, Derek Jeter, even though he's one of the more recent players, he's, still one of the classics. He still had everything right. He still had all the fundamentals. He was just an all-around good ball player. He just, practiced the mechanics every day, and, you could count on him to make routine plays look good.
All right, Tommy.
I actually have to agree with Jacoby on this one. Guy's black and white, straight up. Hard guy. Plays well. He's not going to make anything flashy, or he'll make the flashy plays, but this guy will make the routine plays. He's coming there to play hard, work hard. What else? For an everyday shortstop, what else can you ask for? Guy's going to clutch up in big situations. To me, guy's the greatest of all time.
Anything else either of you would like to say?
Not really. This was a pretty straightforward question.
Yeah.
All right.
Nailed it. All right. Why will the Orioles win the World Series in 2019?
Tommy, you start.
Okay, so not to be a
Because of Chris Davis.
straight up negative guy here. If they would get Adam Jones out of their deal, which I will see that they will try to do in the offseason, this guy, they have a lot of cap space. They can sign a lot of guys. They're rebuilding their farm system, trying to be number one. But I don't think 2019 is a good expectation for potential rebuild situation. I'm going to see probably a little bit further along, maybe 2020, 2025-ish, roughly, where they'll be back in contention for the AL. I'm not even going to say the World Series. AL East title, we'll start with something else, AL East title, and hopefully work their way up to DS, CS, World Series. And I'll let Jacoby.
Well, one of the big strengths that the Orioles have going into 2019 is that they're going to be underestimated by everyone, including themselves. But they got some young players. They got 5 prospects for Manny Machado.
Machado plays for the Dodgers. How is he a prospect?
No,
You got 5 prospects.
they got 5 prospects from the Dodgers when they were traded.
It's like,
And they brought up some of their young players, and they looked very promising. They brought up Jeffrey Ramirez. And as a starting pitcher, he was given a lot of grief to a lot of AL East opponents, and including the Boston Red.
Tough AL East guys. I'm talking
Yeah,
Boston, New York.
Yeah.
Those are crackerjack boxes to hit home runs out of. I mean, crackerjack boxes.
And I'm saying he gave divisional opponents a lot of grief, so he's going to be, one of their better players come next year, and he'll be, getting the strikeouts, getting the wins. That'll
the only negative to Baltimore is Chris Davis's contract, but other than that, I mean, if they can get rid of Adam Jones, their salary is basically cut. I mean, they could sign if they wanted to. They could sign some big game guys if they wanted to. I don't think they will. I think they're going to start the rebuild. Work towards a little bit later deadline than 2019.
I don't know. I'm just saying, the whole point of every baseball series, every season is to win the World Series. The whole point every year is to win. And so, just look at it. A team could start off rebuilding in a rebuild situation and wind up in the playoffs. And, you get to the playoffs, you get hot in the playoffs. And the Orioles have a lot of advantages going for them. They have the experienced ownership and leadership. They have, they have the space to completely and totally rebuild. Camden Yards is an awesome ballpark that people like to play in, people like to visit. Even when the Orioles do bad, they get a good pull. So, the Orioles, they'll pick up a few people.
All right.
Closing arguments, Tommy?
Oh, I
Go
kind
ahead,
of disagree with you on your part that they will be a contender or whatever you're trying to say.
The question is, why would they be contenders next year?
Well, they're not going to be. That's pretty straightforward. Not every team is they're trying to win the World Series, but every team knows that they're not going to make it. There are only a few teams that know that they can sell and still be a good team in the postseason. Orioles, they don't have any big stars. They don't have any names. I mean, yeah, you can develop them, but it takes years to develop. That's why you don't see these guys. You don't see like NFL where these guys come up and play right away and be starters. They have to develop and they have to go through the system. That's why it takes a while. That's why you see, not right away success. You have to wait like 2 or 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, whatever. You have to wait for these guys to become good. That's why it takes 5 years. I like to say 5, absolutely men, to get good team, to actually figure out where you're at. I mean, to say that, yeah, their idea is to win, yeah, every team's idea is to win, but to be realistic about everything, it takes more than 1 year to realize where you're at. You got to draft guys good, you got to scout guys good, you got to trade for guys, you got to know where your guys are at. There's more to it than just say, oh yeah, we want to win. Everyone wants to win. Where are you at player-wise? Where you are personnel-wise? There's more to it. That's all I gotta say. The Orioles are not contenders in 2019.
In 2019, they're going to be contenders. They're going to be able to win it.
There's 3 teams in the AL East already that are contenders. Tampa Bay this year, Boston, New York. You could say that Tampa Bay was a fluke or not, depending on where you're at. Boston's legit. New York's legit. I don't know.
I'll remind you that there are 2 wild cards every year.
And only one team makes it out of the wild card.
Yeah.
Alrighty. On that note, Orioles 2019. Final question, gentlemen. Which African nation should get an MLB expansion team?
Which African nation? Oh, well, that would... It's very obvious. South Sudan.
And why?
Because, they're a pretty recent nation, what better way to break in a new country than to break out a new ballpark, break out a new ball team, They're a new nation, make it a tourist destination. If not, there's always Kenya, that's a good one, and, Gabon's a really nice country if you ever get the opportunity to go there. They call it, they call it like another Garden of Eden. They got the views, they got the animals, they got very well developed, good developments too.
Gabon. All right.
Well, I obviously disagree with this whole question altogether, because clearly that teams should not be in other countries, but I mean,
Are you saying that baseball should not expand?
it should expand to other countries, but I'm just saying that
Is it because it's Africa?
it's not because of Africa. It's
Are you
just that.
afraid that the ball players will get Ebola?
No, I'm not afraid about that. I'm just saying that it's just I don't know. People talk about teams expanding to Canada for football and stuff like that. It just somehow does not always work all the time. And for a team to travel, especially a 162 game season, you got to travel there for 3 days. You got to travel back. It's just gonna be really tough on the players. Looking out for those guys, you know. If you traveled there, I don't know how long a trip that is, but you have to travel there, travel back, and then you have to play your next road trip. So it's gonna be really tough. Air fly, expenses, travel, all that stuff. I'm not saying that we shouldn't do it. I mean, I definitely would recommend doing it to expand the game of baseball, but to have a team over there, I would like to see more. Little bit more research, more in-depth progress to see where they're at, where we're at all together before we start talking about expanding a team over there.
Any closing arguments?
I actually tried to answer every question the way it was presented. I didn't try to go off any tangents like my opponent here. You know.
I'm gonna pay my 15 cents here, 5 cents here.
Okay.